All right, today we're going to deconstruct a method that completely flips the script on everything we think we know about addiction and willpower. We're talking about a method that promises, well, an easy way out of one of the hardest struggles in life.
I mean, that's a pretty wild question, right? It just challenges our most basic assumption that the harder something is, the more you have to struggle. But what if a truly monumental struggle was built entirely on a cognitive illusion?
And listen, this isn't just some philosophical thought experiment. We're talking about a real method with a success rate that's up around 95%. I mean, a figure like that it's basically unheard of in behavioral science. So how on earth is that even possible? Okay, so how do you get a 95% success rate? Well, the answer starts with the guy who figured all this out. And let me tell you, his background is probably the last thing you'd expect. His name was Alan Carr. And no, he wasn't a doctor or a psychiatrist or a neuroscientist. He was a highly logical, very successful accountant who, for 33 years, was trapped in just a relentless addiction. We're talking 100 cigarettes a day. That's one every 10 minutes he was awake. And it was that profound cognitive dissonance, this brilliant, analytical mind being completely helpless against this one compulsion, that became the very foundation for his entire breakthrough. So to solve this problem that seemed impossible, Carr turned to the most powerful tool he had, his accountant's brain. He decided to literally audit his addiction, just like he would a failing company's books, systematically looking for that one flawed assumption at the core of it all. And this, right here, is where the genius comes in. He realized that pretty much the entire medical world was asking the completely wrong question. And that question just reinforces the idea that quitting has to be hard. So Carr he flipped the script. The key thing here is he didn't focus on the pain of getting out. He audited the reasons for staying in the trap in the first place.
So, what did his audit turn up? The bars on this prison weren't made of physical dependency or some kind of genuine pleasure. Nope. The core emotion keeping people trapped is fear. The fear of not being able to enjoy a meal, or the fear of not handling stress. This deep, paralyzing fear that you just can't live without your little chemical crutch. But here's the crazy twist. The cigarette doesn't relieve that fear. It's the thing that creates it.
And this just perfectly illustrates the huge shift in thinking. When Carr finally saw through the whole illusion, he said the feeling was just pure ecstatic relief. It was like, Edmond Dante's finally escaping the dungeon in The Count of Monte Cristo. He wasn't sad about his chains. He was celebrating his freedom. See, quitting isn't a sacrifice, it's a prison break.
Okay, so if the pleasure is just an illusion, why does it have such an incredible hold on so many smart people? Well, Carr's answer to this is probably his biggest contribution of all. He figured out that addiction isn't just one thing. It's a war you're fighting on two different fronts.
So let's meet the first enemy. Carr called it the little monster. This is the purely physical side of the trap, the chemical hook of the nicotine itself. But here's the thing. What's so fascinating is just how weak this little monster actually is. I mean, the physical withdrawal from nicotine, it's not agonizing. It doesn't cause any real pain. It's just this kind of mild, empty, insecure feeling. It's so mild, in fact, that most heavy smokers sleep right through it for 8 hours every single night without a problem. If it was really that bad, it'd be waking them up in a cold sweat, right? So that brings us to the most important question. If the physical part is just a minor annoyance, then who's the real enemy here? Where does all that immense struggle actually come from? And that reveals the true villain, the big monster. Now this is the fortress of psychological brainwashing that's been built up over decades. It's every single movie hero lighting up to calm their nerves. It's every ad campaign, and maybe worst of all, it's every time a smoker tells themselves, oh, I need this to relax. That mild physical itch from the little monster, it's just the tripwire that wakes up this massive, terrifying psychological beast. This analogy just captures the absurd logic perfectly. Smoking is like deciding to wear shoes that are 2 sizes too small all day long just for that fleeting moment of relief you feel when you finally take them off. You're not actually gaining pleasure, you're just temporarily ending an irritation you created yourself. A non-smoker, they feel that relief, that peace, all the time. Okay, so if the logic is that completely absurd, why do traditional ways of quitting fail so spectacularly, so often? Well, this brings us to the fundamental flaw in pretty much every single mainstream approach out there.
Carr basically lumps all these conventional tactics under one name, the willpower method. And its fatal flaw is that it forces you to feel like you're making a huge sacrifice. You're just using brute force, your sheer will, to deny yourself something that, deep down, you still believe is valuable. You're attacking the behavior, sure, but you're not dismantling the belief system behind it. And just look at the contrast here. The willpower method creates this civil war inside your head. Your inner monologue is constantly screaming, I want one, but I can't have one. And that just breeds obsession and misery. The easy way shift? It's not a battle at all. It's a change of mind, where the monologue becomes, you know what? I don't even want one. And that leads to this amazing feeling of total freedom. You see, that feeling of sacrifice leads people to try and negotiate with their addiction, using what we can call false friends. Cutting down, it's just a form of torture that makes every single cigarette seem infinitely more precious. Nicotine substitutes, they just keep the little monster fed while completely ignoring the big monster. And the myth of just one, oh man, that's the tiny spark that reignites the entire forest fire. There is no such thing as just one. So, if willpower is the wrong tool for the job, and compromises are just another part of the trap, how do you actually pull off the escape? The final piece of the puzzle is a very specific, very actionable cognitive shift. The whole process is a deliberate mental shift. It all starts with a final, non-negotiable vow. From there, you completely reframe what withdrawal feels like. That slight, empty feeling, that's not pain. That's the feeling of the little monster dying. You should be celebrating that. And this is crucial. You never, ever doubt your decision. And when a thought about smoking pops into your head, you don't fight it. You intercept it with joy and relief, and you tell yourself, hooray, I'm a non-smoker. And what this all leads to is what Carr calls the moment of revelation. It's that psychological tipping point where all the brainwashing just shatters, the mental fog lifts, and you can look at a cigarette and feel absolutely nothing. Just complete and total apathy. The desire isn't fought off, it's just gone. And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. True freedom isn't about fighting a constant draining battle against temptation. It's about logically dismantling the illusion that the temptation has any value at all. Once you realize the prison bars are just a painted line on the floor, you don't have to break them down, you just walk out. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If millions of really smart people can be completely trapped by a simple cognitive illusion, totally convinced they enjoy something that only gives them relief from a pain it created itself, what else in our lives fits that description? What other tight, painful shoes are we wearing every single day just for that fleeting, fake pleasure of finally taking them off?